All right. Hello. Good afternoon, Asia. Um, really happy to be here. So now it's 12:30 p.m. In Bali, and also 11:30 a.m. in Jakarta, 10 a.m. in India, 3:30 p.m. in Sydney. So I hope that everybody's already awake. I'm really happy to be here because today we have a special guest. He's currently awake, although it's already 12:30 a.m. In his place. So this is Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me.
All right, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm in New York, so we're the city that never sleeps. So 12:30 a.m. No problem.
Yeah,
Let's do
12.
this.
We can go on until 3 a.m. I guess.
No
Cool.
problem. Yeah.
How's the weather there?
It's rainy. It's rainy, but it's not too cold. We just came out of winter, so everything's a little bit easier when it's not too snowy and too icy. So yeah, good to be here. I know it's a little bit warmer, a little bit nicer where you are right now.
Right. It's also rainy season here in Bali, but I don't want to make you jealous, but it's 30 degrees most of the time. So it's, it's a bit humid though, but yeah. Anyways, I think I see there are about 14 people already live here. So hello. If you want to, hey, one. If you want to say something, if you have any question, feel free to just put your question there at the chat box on your right, I guess. Um, oh yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Fido. I work for Hubud as the events manager here. I organize about 430 events in a year. I know I also never sleep, almost as one event almost every day. And also I'm coordinating the Coworking Alliance Asia Pacific, which is called CAP. So CAP, it was started in 2016. That was after the Coworking on Conference Asia. So CO Asia, for most of you who run a coworking space, I would recommend you to join. So we started 2 years ago in Bali. We had about 150 people, coworking operators, and also coworking enthusiasts as well. And this year, just a couple of weeks ago, we just had another one in Thailand, which we had about 250 people there as well. And the next year is going to be in Malaysia and in Penang. So excited. But in 2016, like 2015, 2016, there were a lot of discussions about collaboration, what co-working spaces could do together. And that's how we started CAP. So we started this alliance. It was going to be only for Asia, but then we also have our friends in Australia and New Zealand that wants to have alliance as well, that wants to collaborate. So we started CAP where we offer also P2P learning, like our webinar now, and also we have a network for co-working spaces as well. So we connect them as well whenever they have questions for the co-working spaces or other kind of stuff as well. So at the moment we have about 20 co-working spaces under CAP, from Saudi Arabia until New Zealand. So there's a big range of area here for Co-working Alliance. So happy to have them all. And today maybe Tony, we have Tony here from New York Cities, but I guess he can tell a bit more about himself. So maybe you can introduce yourself again. So what do you do and what are you going to talk about today?
Sounds great. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for the kind introduction, and thanks to all of you for taking the time to hang out with us today. My name's Tony Bacigalupo. I first discovered co-working 10 years ago this month here in New York when I was working from home. I was actually working from here, this room, when I realized that working from home was driving me crazy, needed to get out, needed to be around other people. Discovered a thing in New York called Jelly, which was just a very informal gathering of people in someone's home, where people just get together and co-work. And I went there, I met some of the most incredible people. It changed my life, and I became obsessed with this idea of co-working. Got involved in the earliest efforts to start what became New York's first dedicated co-working space, which we called New York City in 2008. And I ran that for almost 8 years, all the way through 2015, when I decided to move from player to coach, and now manage a network of spaces where we all collaborate, we share resources, we share materials, we do group coaching, things like that. And that's under New Work Cities. So that's kind of what I do now. I'm basically in the business of helping people build great co-working spaces all over the world. And if you're watching this, if you're running a space, or if you're thinking of running a space, I am absolutely hell-bent on making sure you have everything you need to be wildly successful. So thank you for the good work that you're doing, and thanks for the opportunity to chat today.
All right, thank you. So today you will speak about how to create the tricks to build an impactful community. I'm sure you have a lot of lessons you can share with us today. So I think I'll give the microphone to you, so you can start now. Thank you, Tony.
Great. Well, thanks again. Thanks very much. And hello to everybody once again. I will add, before we do this, before we go into the presentation, just to build off of what we just heard, Co-working Alliance Asia Pacific, it's such an amazing thing. The co-working movement is so much more than just our individual spaces. We really are collectively redefining our relationship with work, and we need a lot more people to know about it. And we're not going to do that if we work all separately from one another. So being able to have alliances, being able to work together to raise awareness of these different ways of working is extremely important. The fact that this alliance is coming together is very important. I happen to be involved in a nonprofit that manages coworking.org, where there are free resources, free discussion groups, and we are working on translating that into as many languages as we can. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, head to opencoworking.org. I'll put that in the chat, and you can register as a volunteer to help us translate information about co-working in as many languages as possible. And yeah, so hopefully we can work with Co-working Alliance Asia Pacific in the coming months and years to be able to work together to just have a global alliance, to be able to all help each other in growing our communities. Okay, so let's talk about what it is that we're doing, why we are here. Co-working. There is something that is happening, and it is an absolute global phenomenon. The same way that I was working from home and I needed to get out and needed to be around other people, that is something that other people have been doing all over the planet over the course of the last 10 years or more. And we are all starting to find new ways to come together and share space. And now we're in a place where this is really starting to take hold. It's really starting to happen everywhere, all over the earth, wherever there are people, wherever there's internet. And this is very important, and it's great. Here's the problem. It's all happening in a way that is largely centered around office space. And that's a good thing because it gives us a business model. It gives us a way to deliver this co-working message through a way that can really be sustainable through these workspaces. But having done this myself, I can tell you, once you sign a lease on a space and once you are operating a physical office facility, as idealistic as you might want to be about how you want to change the world and help people build their businesses, once you're running a space, it can be really hard to think about anything other than running a space. And that can be very dangerous because operating an office space onto itself isn't a particularly exciting thing. And as we see now, there are a lot more and more spaces opening all over the world where they have very pretty facilities and they're renting offices, and it's fine. But if that's all that you're doing, then you're not necessarily going to be doing anything that is going to stand out from the other spaces around you. And while it could be helping people build their businesses, there's so much more that we can do when we are bringing these people together in these spaces, that if we just settle for renting space to them, we're missing out on an opportunity to do something really great, really fulfilling for ourselves and for our members. So and on a more hard business standpoint, if you're able to build a really great, thriving community of people who care about the space that they are in, you're going to have an easier time attracting members. You're going to have an easier time keeping members, and you're just going to be happier. And so I'm going to take you through a few things that I learned in the course of my 8 years running a space in New York City. It was a community-driven space, totally bootstrapped. It was my own savings that I put into it. We started as a sublet from a startup, and eventually got our own space with a Kickstarter campaign. But throughout that, what I always wanted was to have a place that was really fun, that was really meaningful to the people who were a part of it. And to a large extent, I learned a lot about what it would take to be able to build something like that. A lot of successes, a lot of failures, a lot of fun times. And I will actually show you, I'm going to switch over to screen share now, and I'll just show you in this screen share that this is a kind of a montage that I use in my presentations, and I use it because we have all of these incredible moments over the years. Fun parties, memories, happy hours, classes, birthday parties, you know, just fun things that we did over the course of the years. And because of that, we now have these memories that really bond us together, to the point where even now, after our space has been closed for almost 2 years, we still remember each other. We're still friends with each other. We still have connections. There are people who have built businesses that are still growing and thriving today because of the connections that were made in this community. And so I'm very proud to be able to have this photo montage. I hope if you run a space that you're taking lots of pictures, save those pictures, make your own montages, because you will be very proud of them one day, like I am now. And so I want to tell you a little bit while we do this about, first of all, a little bit of background of why this is important. And we're going to do that by going to the next slide. Cool. So this is one of the things that motivates me so much about this, is that the world's relationship with work in many cases is just really bad. You know, and I know that this is probably very different across different cultures and different nations, but I know from my perspective, from what I've seen here, there's this tendency that people have to think of work as something that you have to do, that you have to do it for somebody else. And, you know, that you don't like your job, you don't like your boss, you don't like your commute, all this stuff. And I just think that that's a very unfortunate thing. People, this is just a screenshot from a Reddit thread, but this is just kind of an illustration of the perspective that so many people have about work. They think of this as a thing that you have to do. You know, it becomes a chore. It's a thing that you just need to do to make money. And I don't think that that needs to be true. I think work can be something that we really love to do. And so what I was hoping was that as we started seeing the sharing economy come up and the gig economy come up, that this would be something that people would be really excited about, that they're free to be able to choose how they work and when they work and where they work, and this freedom would be really good. But that's not exactly how it's happening. It is, for a lot of people, liberating people and giving people a chance to look at work in a new way. But a lot of people aren't still seeing the potential of the opportunity of being able to work for themselves. And so now we're starting to see all kinds of issues because people enjoyed the benefits of employment, but now they're kind of stuck on their own. They have to manage everything themselves, and being on your own is not okay. We need something more important to be able to give people a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than them, something that gives them a sense of support structure. Working for yourself is extremely hard. It's extremely scary. If you're on your own, it's really hard to get started. It's hard to get the energy to even do this. And so if we can give people a way of saying, you have a place you can go, you have people who will help you, you have the support structures, we can help people to build a better relationship with work. And that's ultimately where we see these co-working communities coming in, right? If you have worked in a co-working space before, if you run a co-working space, you know the people who come in there are less afraid. They are more likely to be able to find people to help them make their spaces, make their businesses successful. And they're more likely to be able to take the scary parts and make them less scary. And so this is where we have a really important opportunity, because people can go, this is a bad slide, but this is where people can go from traditional work into a direction where they're going to be scared and they're going to be on their own, or where they're going to be really excited and happy to be working together. And so this is where we come in. And what we have to do is we have to be awesome. We have to not just build nice spaces, pretty spaces, places where people can just kind of come and go on their headphones and do their work. We need to build awesome places, places that people are really excited to come and be a part of, and to be members of, and to really feel like they belong to. So this is our mission. We need to be awesome. We need to build awesome spaces. And you don't even need to build a space. If you don't run a space, you're thinking of starting a co-working community, you don't need to operate a co-working space to be able to do this. You can do this from a cafe. You can do this from your house. You can do this from a friend's office. You can do this from a public space. I've done this in all of these places very successfully. So there's a very low barrier to you being able to build an awesome community. You don't even need to run a business in order to be able to do it. So if you're thinking about it, really start from that place of knowing that you just can start by being awesome. So what does it take to be awesome? Let's go into a few things that I've learned in the course of my experience. So we're going to fire up a list. I'm going to run through a few things and just Vito, if you keep me on time, I'm watching the chat. So if I need to speed up or slow down, we'll figure it out. Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, so number one, be real. What I mean by being real is there's a whole lot of ways that when you're building a business that you can try to act like a businessy person. You know, like you always kind of know when you're getting that marketing email or those tweets where, you know, you're just trying to get customers. And people don't really respond well to those kinds of things. We have, you know, we're so bombarded with messages and marketing now that it's really hard for us to care, to pay attention to things. And we have a very high tolerance for, you know, for garbage because we get so much of it every day. And so if you're not being real, if you're trying to be a marketer, if you're trying to kind of, you know, build yourself up to be more than you are, people are going to notice it. They're going to filter you out really fast. And so the first thing you need to do is just notice you're a human being. And just by being a human being, that's very interesting, right? Every single one of us and every person that you meet, every potential member that you meet is a human being. And we have passions and hopes and dreams and fears. And there's so much about that that's so real and so interesting and so exciting that we don't need to worry about the marketing garbage. We just need to focus on making real, authentic connections with other people. Yourself, like sharing who you really are, what you're afraid of, what you're excited about, and letting people respond to that, and then inviting other people to do the same with you. You can build a terrific community just starting with that. So number one, being real. Number two, try things. So with trying things, what I mean by this is that every day in a co-working space, once you've got the space open, it's very easy to fall into a place where every day is basically the same. You want it, you know, you open the doors, you start up the coffee. If the internet works, if the printer doesn't break, it's a good day. But, you know, what happens if every day is basically the same? Well, that's not very exciting for you. It's not very exciting for your members. And it's not really what you came here for. You know, what we don't want is for every day to be the same in a co-working space. And so what you want to do is you want to look out for opportunities to try different things, whether it's your own ideas or whether in the course of having conversations with people, new ideas come up for different kinds of ways of convening the community, different kinds of groups you can organize. There's always new interests, new possibilities, new angles to try to do things differently and keep things fresh. And so you're always going to want to be on the lookout for ways to try to do things differently. So that's one thing. Next up, and I'll kind of recap this and maybe we can do a little storytelling. And please definitely do throw some questions in the chat. I see that that we've already got some folks commenting in there, so I'm seeing you there. So my next tip, I'm moving through these real fast, but I'll have plenty of time after where we can talk some more stories. Next tip is don't attach to outcomes. And what I mean by this is if you organize something, and maybe you're trying to pilot a new space, or maybe you're trying to, you know, start a new group or something like that, you don't necessarily know how it's going to go yet. Sometimes you try something new, nobody shows up. That's okay, because that gives you information. Maybe you need to do this a few more times before people really warm up to it. Maybe you need to try a different day, a different location. Maybe you need to try marketing, you know, promoting your program a little differently. Whatever happens, it's information. and you can use that information to help you to decide how to shape the way that you approach your community building from that point onward. And then also, if you have a very few people come to your event or to your co-working event or whatever it is, that could be extremely valuable as well, because even if one person comes to a new thing that you're starting, odds are good that person who's coming to your thing is someone who was so excited and so ready for that thing that they were willing to give it a try on the first event. And so that means that person maybe could be very, very interested and become an evangelist and become your business partner or an investor. Those first 1 or 2 or 3 people could really be critical parts of your community going forward. And then if lots of people show up, then that's great. That's really cool too. And then you can keep things going. So when you're doing whatever you're doing, don't get too disappointed if a lot of people aren't showing up. Just constantly be looking out for opportunities to listen to what people are telling you and how they're responding, how they're not responding, and then use that information to make adjustments going forward. And this leads to another point, which is say yes. And what I mean by this is when you're talking to your members, if you are looking for opportunities to get more community programming happening in your space, what you don't want to do is have all of this be on your own shoulders. The best way to burn out, if you're a community manager in a co-working space, is to try to do it all yourself. If you're trying to be the person who is doing everything, then you're going to burn out. And if and I am telling you this because I have done it myself. Many times I've burned out and I've had to start over and I've had to come back. And so I know if you make everyone depend on you for the community, then you're going to burn out. And then when you go away, then they're going to struggle. And so what you want to do is you want to find ways to get that community center to be distributed across your network so that people's concept of what it is to be a part of this community is not centered on you, but it is centered around the people in the space. So that if there are other people who are running programs, other people who are taking leadership in things, then it becomes more decentralized, it becomes more versatile, it becomes more exciting. And when there are members who are active and who are passionate about building a sub-community within your space, those people will do a better job of recruiting new members than you ever will, because they don't work for you. And so when someone hears that this person is evangelizing this space and they're not on the payroll, that they're just doing because they love it so much and they're so passionate about it, then those people are going to really attract members in a way that's very real, very authentic, and that's very compelling to people. One terrific example of this, a man who you might be familiar with if you've gone to one of the CU Asia conferences, is Alex Hillman at Indy Hall. Indy Hall does a great example of this, where Indy Hall itself you might think of as a co-working space, but because they have said yes to their members when they have new ideas for new kinds of programs, things like that, new things have emerged to widen what it means to be a member of Indy Hall. And so now you have Indy Hall Arts, and a specific arts program that's run by one of the members. And they have art shows, they have art on the walls, the members make works and they sell those works at the events. And people are so passionate about these events. They started a farmer's market. They started their own farmer's market. It's not even physically located in the space, but there's a year-round community around people who are passionate about food. And these are all people who are very passionate about what they do. These are some photos from some of the art shows that Indy Hall Arts has. And again, you look at this and you think, gosh, if I'm a community manager, I'm looking at these events and these are things that I'm doing. But this isn't run by the staff. This is run by the members. These are things the members are doing. This all comes back to that notion of saying yes. Saying yes when members are interested in something. And if a member asks you, hey, would you do this event? Wouldn't it be great if you did this? It's very easy to say, you know what, I think that's a great idea. how can I help you make it happen? Right? And so part of what we want to be doing here is educating people as to what it means to be in a community, not just as a consumer, not just as a paying customer, but as a citizen. And what does that really mean to be a citizen who contributes and participates? And so every day when we're educating people as to what that means, we're doing our jobs. And so one of the things that we can just be doing is teaching people, hey, you know, I could do this for you, but what if you did it yourself? And just give that an idea, you know, give that a sense of empowerment and encouragement. So, Riziana, I see you've got a question there, and actually now I think is a fine time to answer it. I'm just going to answer as we go here. Do you need to curate the community activities that are hosted at your space, or should you just leave it to the members and say yes to everything? This is a great question. Obviously, it's a complete judgment call on your part. It has a lot to do with the way that your space works. You know, are you going after a particular type of audience, or are you going, you know, in more of a general direction? I'm going to see if I can switch back to the camera here so you can see me. Great, awesome. So what I would say is err on the side of saying yes. And obviously you always have the final call as to what happens in your space. So, you know, if you think something's ethically an issue or logistically an issue, if you think people are going to be setting things on fire or blowing things up or doing something dangerous, like obviously you have the ability to say no. And, you know, even if you're not so sure, if it sounds kind of creepy, you could say, look, you know, explain to the people who will come to you with the ideas, this is what we need. We need, you know, you to be a good ambassador for the space. We need everyone who comes here to be respectful of our facility and what we are doing here. Because if we burn this place down, if stuff gets stolen, then it becomes difficult for us to do what we do. So we need you to be on board with that. Can you be on board with that? And if the person understands that and they can say, really, you know, I support what you are trying to do here, and what I want to do can contribute to that, then maybe even if you think it's kind of a weird idea, it might be kind of worth going for. And you never know. I'll tell you a quick story. There was one time I said yes that I wasn't sure if I should, and I'm so glad that I did. And it was a couple of guys in my space who, guys and girls who wanted to do an event because they see all these startup launch parties, and they were noticing that when a startup begins, there's always a big party. But when a startup dies, nobody ever really talks about it. A lot of times startups just kind of go away. And so they wanted to do a startup funeral. And they wanted to do an event where we actually talk about what it means for a startup to die, to fail, to go away. And so they asked me if they could do a funeral for dead startups in the space, which I was like, wow, that is a weird idea. But you guys seem really excited about it, so go for it. And they did the event. They did it several times, and they invited the founders of failed startups to come and give talks, eulogies for their failed companies. And it came about to be such an incredibly successful event because a lot of people came, because it was kind of an original, fun idea. And they had music, and we had kind of like the funeral kind of a vibe. It was very tongue-in-cheek. But we had these founders of startups give these very heartfelt talks about why their startups didn't work and what advice they would give to other people building new startups. And in some cases, those people went on to build other successful companies. So there was a really happy kind of a story to it. And it was all because I said yes to something weird. So I would say, you know, to your question, Riziana, you know, when in doubt, say yes. And, you know, go for weird, go for different. People love really good stories. Like Newark City, the space that I ran in New York, we didn't have a lot of money. The space was kind of messy. We had like secondhand furniture, you know, and it was charming. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the best run office facility. But people really, really loved the space. And it really comes back to the fun things that we did. And, you know, the potluck, dinner parties and the movie nights and the goofy games and things like that. People remember different experiences. They remember when you did something that really stood out, that gave them something that kind of, shook up their day. And so those experiences really stand out. So the more that you can have special experiences, different things, random things, weird things, the more that that's going to make your place memorable and really special to people. And again, as there are more and more of these kinds of different office rental spaces in the world, you want to be able to create an experience that is special to people. And so the more that you're able to focus on that, the more you're going to stand out, because the people who just want to rent office space are not going to be interested in doing that. And so you're always going to be able to have an edge if you're doing something that's special and different. So in my mind, certainly it's a great idea if you want to curate a specific program, if you want to do, a business, grow your business program. And this is something that I do in my organizers club, my online group, where we have some programs that we do around this, where we say, you can have specific programs around helping people build their businesses. You can do specific educational programs. So absolutely curate a great program if you want to. But if a member comes to you with a wild idea, totally go for it. Have fun. Do random stuff. Okay, so Kasia, I see you've got a question about what tools would you recommend to manage an online community, and does the tool really matter? I'm really glad that you kind of threw in that last question, because I feel like you're already starting to get on to the answer to your own question. There are lots of tools. None of them are perfect. And one of the problems that you run into in co-working spaces is that we fall into this trap of dreaming of a perfect tool that manages the conference rooms and refills the coffee machine and manages membership levels and all this stuff. And there are many great tools and they're coming out and it's good, but you really don't need great tools. What you need are great processes. Do your homework to figure out what tools you think are best for what your budget is and what your work, what your workflow is and those kinds of things. But then at some point you have to say, okay, these are the tools we've got. Now let's make really great business processes that minimize the amount of work, make this really well documented, well streamlined, give that documentation to your members as best as you can so that, that it's available to them online in signage in the space. We would have signage everywhere. This is where you find information on how to book the conference room, how to use these tools, how to, change your membership levels, all that stuff, so that it's very easy for the members to do it themselves. But at the end of the day, however, the tools only really work as well as your management. And so your management processes come first. That being said, when we ran New Work City, it was before we had a lot of the software that existed for co-working spaces. So we used, Google spreadsheets, we used WordPress for our website, we used Google Groups for our discussion. I really love Google Groups because they're free, they're very easy to use, and they reach the members. So what you want is, be able to get into people's inboxes. That's always very important. We eventually got into Slack, but, it's tricky because, some of your members will be only in Slack ever, and some members will never, ever use Slack no matter what you do. So you have to kind of feel out how do you approach Slack in a way where the people who are into it really want to get into it. But I would say, I don't particularly recommend any one tool over any other. Cool. So I'm just catching up on the comments here. I'm hearing Vito said that they had someone who wanted to host a wedding at the co-working space. I've seen it done before in several spaces. It's beautiful if you're willing to take a shot at it. So yeah, stuff like that, special community events. I mean, like a wedding, even like a reception, special, children's birthday party. Who cares? Go for it. Why not? There's plenty of ways to have really special community events, neighborhood events. And I'll say this while I'm kind of trying to read these other comments as well, is meeting the other like store owners in your neighborhood, the other community organizations in your neighborhood. The more that you're able to create a sense that your community is a center within your neighborhood and there is cohesiveness and relationships between those people, there's just all kinds of great magic that can happen. We can have a whole other talk just around that. So Riziana, just to see what you're saying about creating guidelines for your members to create activities in your space. Absolutely, having really well documented guidelines for what it means to be a good community organizer and community contributor in space is very critical. 100%, you need to do that homework. D, next question, what makes community members stay? Is it the community or the facilities or the internet connection? Which should you focus first? I will tell you, you can't do anything without internet. So internet is oxygen to a co-working space. It is equally important as oxygen is to a human. Once the internet goes down, you are in big trouble. And obviously, people can be very patient. And if you have big problems, there's always ways to make things work. This is why it's also very good to make friends with the other co-working spaces in your area. Don't think of them as competitors, because you can help each other out. One day, one of you might buy each other, and that's a real thing, and one day your internet might go down. You might need to send 20 people to your neighbor's co-working space, and they might do the same for you. So it's always good to make friends with people in your area, just if the internet goes down. So you need to have good internet. You need to have a basic set of facilities. And it doesn't need to be very good facilities, but the facilities you have need to at least be reliable enough that people know what to expect. And then you can work with that. But really, the community is what makes people care. Because right now, if you think about it, the internet is not that big of a deal. You can get it anywhere. You can get it mobile. You can get it through your phone. You can be anywhere. And we have laptops with batteries that can last you all day. So we can work wherever we want. And there are lots of people who are learning how to rent workspace. And they're giving it away. We were talking in the video and we're saying, governments, organizations are now creating free co-working spaces just to promote business growth, just to make things happen. And so there's, the simple office facilities are just not going to cut it anymore. And so the community is really what makes things meaningful. If you give someone a chance to make a friend, and that friend helps them to feel less alone, if that friend helps them to grow their business, if you get a member who, gets a new customer because of your community, they will be your best friend for forever, right? They will love your community for a long time. And you can have really pretty furniture, you can have really pretty facilities, but none of that's ever going to compare to giving someone a really great memory, a really great relationship that's going to change their life. So absolutely, once you get your internet up and running, building a really great community, building good relationships between people, and even if it's just very little moments that you do every day to make people feel welcome, to give people a chance to meet other people, those things are in the long run going to be what makes someone go from staying for a month or two to being someone who might stay for a year or two or 5 years or 10 years in your community and be an evangelist for your community. So that's really, a long answer to question D. Get the internet working and then definitely work on making that community. Gosh, I am loving, thank you so much for all of your questions. You guys are asking so many great questions. And okay, so I got a great question from Ashima, and my apologies to anybody here if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Ashima, thank you for your question. My Bluetooth headset is low on battery, so I'm going to switch to my headphones just in case I need to listen to anything from Vito. So bear with me for a moment while I switch that, and I'm going to just read your questions here while we do this. We're doing this live, so you're getting the full cut. All right. Yes, there are a lot of people who come to co-working spaces who are maybe thinking that really what they're just there for is the facilities. And that is something that we have to work with. right? Do you try to get these people to participate, or how do you kind of work with the fact that there are some people who just don't want to participate, right? And here's the thing, depending on the kind of space you run, especially if you run a larger space, it might just be okay that a certain percentage of your members really appreciate the opportunity to come and work in your space and be in a vibrant environment, but they prefer to work on their stuff and simply enjoy the environment from the comfort of their office or the comfort of their desk, and they don't want to talk. One of the big mistakes I made early on was I made the mistake of wanting every single member to be extremely involved in everything. And I stressed out so much because no matter what I did, I could never get more than a certain number of members to participate. And I realized it's just because that's how people work. People talk about 80-20 rules, right? And in any community, you're going to have a small number of people who are very active. You're going to have a larger number of people who are less active. And within that, some people who are somewhat active and some people who are in the middle. And so, just allowing for the fact that different people participate in different ways and giving people invitations to participate, in different levels. So if they're ready to move up or move down, you're ready for them. That's another process that we do in some of the community building training that I do in my organizers group. Not to promote that too much, but it's one of the nice exercises we do, is giving people ways to make transitions up and down. And Riziana, I'll get to that question about giving rewards to the ambassadors and the evangelists in a moment, because that's part of that. But how to deal with those people who don't want to participate, I think, part of it is just tuning into what are their needs, being friendly, not trying to force people to participate in ways that they don't want to, and giving them every opportunity to participate in the way that they might want to, because everyone participates in a community in a different way. So you might want to participate by attending an event if you're more social. You might want to participate in the online discussion group because maybe you prefer to socialize online as opposed to in person. And so lots of different ways of offering opportunities for community engagement are very important. Large groups, small groups, one-on-one, just giving people different kinds of formats, because some people are more comfortable or less comfortable in different environments. So that's important. And then ultimately, if you're finding that you have too many members who just want to make use of the facilities, what you want to do then is look at ways to recruit new members in a way where the nature of their being recruited to the space is intrinsically participatory. And so what we did at Newark City, because I had this very problem, was I started a program called Codivation, which is like collaborative motivation. And it was basically an accountability group. And it was geared towards freelancers, small business owners who wanted to be able to have other members who they could set goals with and help them to grow their companies just by having someone to bounce ideas off of, and to have some sense of, if I say I'm going to do something, then someone's going to hold me accountable to that next week. And so we would just meet once a week and we would set goals and we would encourage each other. And I recruited new members specifically to join that program. And it was because I wanted people who didn't want to just make use of the facilities. I wanted people who wanted to participate. And so I promoted that program. I said, don't join the co-working space, join this program because you want to meet people who are going to help you. And those members who joined for that program were the best members I had. They were always very social. They were always very involved, very passionate about being in the community, because they built really great relationships. And those friendships, those relationships, they're still going on. That group is still happening on its own, and so curating and developing programming that attracts people in a way where it's not about renting the space, but it's about offering a program that's really valuable and kind of, gets people thinking about participating, is probably the best tip that I can give you for, avoiding that issue of people just renting facilities. It's one of the services that I offer. I can help you, set up a Codivation group. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with me. My email is tony@nwc.co. By the way, I'll throw that in the chat just so that you've got it. Yeah, so that's one of the most important things I can say is doing that. Okay, so how do you email? Okay, sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time. Huh. Okay. Take a breath.
I know a lot
Okay.
of questions from the audience today, eh?
Yeah, that's the truth. I'm loving it though. Keep bringing. I don't need to finish my presentation. We'll just keep going in questions, and just give me a heads up, Vito, when we're close to the end on time.
Sure, I'll let you know.
Awesome. So, okay, we're talking about rewards and incentives for the ambassadors and the evangelists and for the people that stick around long. Now, this is something that I think there's a lot of ways to approach it, a lot of traditional ways of approaching it. What I will tell you is that from my experience, I found that if I tried to offer more traditional incentives for people around being evangelists, being ambassadors, being loyal, sticking around a long time, that it created kind of a businessy dynamic that didn't ring true for me in terms of what we were doing. What I found is that you really want to create a sense that what people want, what they are passionate about, what they really wish they could have in the world is something that is possible and that they can make real by participating and extending your co-working community into something that it couldn't have been before. And then by doing that, people really get tremendous rewards by simply being able to see their dreams come true and to be empowered, right? So like Sean Martirana, the guy who runs the Indie Hall Arts at Indie Hall, he doesn't have to pay for the space. He doesn't have to start his own business. He has permission to use this incredibly valuable space and community to build an arts community that he never might have been able to do on his own. And so in that way, they've given him a tremendous reward for being an ambassador by giving him, the free incubation and support and infrastructure to be able to start a community that never could have happened otherwise. And so that reward is very intrinsic. And that's where I think we have a lot of opportunity in co-working spaces where, a lot of spaces don't have a ton of money that we're trying to give away, right? And so, we don't necessarily want to create this notion of if you are good to us, then we will give you money or we will give you things, because we don't want to foster that sense of, we're the provider and you're consuming what we provide for you. We want to give a sense of, hey, we're doing this amazing thing together. And, okay, I'm the business owner, this person's the employee, but like, we're all building this thing together and we can't do it if we don't do it together. And so we all play a role in this. Maybe one day you're going to run the business. Maybe one day I'll be a member because I'm going to get sick of this one day. And it's true. You need to be a member of a space one day. You can't run it all forever. So creating that sense of we're all in this together and then letting the value really be intrinsic, I think is where the real rewards are. So, not worrying too much about shortcuts. And obviously, if you have great ideas for, giving members rewards if they refer other members, I've seen that done successfully. Of course, offer a promotion. Tell members you'll give them, discounts on their membership if they help sign up new members. Go for it. Like, absolutely. But I think you kind of get the general point kind of what you're, of what I'm saying. So Nikita, I hear what you're saying about that there are people who are interested to be part of the community. One of the problems comes is the bosses don't want them to participate because they think the co-working space is distracting the employees. Why are you in a co-working space, boss? Come on. This is surprising. I've actually never heard of that before. The idea that the boss pays a premium to go locate in a co-working space. They don't want their employees to participate. I think in that case, there might be an opportunity to really kind of get to know the boss a little bit better and come to understand what is it that you really want to achieve with this business? How important is employee morale to your business and turnover, things like that? Don't you see how maybe, creating a great morale in the space that, and the value of, I don't know what's going on in the space that you're in terms of events, but a lot of these events aren't just social, they're educational. I mean, there's a lot of value. And maybe you could even ask this, this boss of this company, hey, what kind of programming would you want your employees to go to? What would be valuable for your employees to go to? And then, hey, would you be interested in giving a talk about it? Maybe you can kind of like stroke the boss's ego a little bit and invite them to give a talk. Or maybe they just need to get out. That's fine too, if that's what it needs to end up coming down to. So, and yeah, one of the other things that comes up again, when you have a large team and the people come in as employees of the team, the relationship that the employee has is with the company and not with the space. And when someone doesn't choose to come to your co-working space, when they only go because the boss tells them, this is where I tell you to go because you work for me, then, that person doesn't choose to be there. And you can try to get those people to participate and maybe you'll have some success, but it's very, 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 very difficult. And so what I would very much recommend, and it might be too late for the companies that are already in your space, but over the course of time, this is the beautiful thing about a co-working space, and I actually have this on a slide that I might be able to pull up for you, is that co-working spaces are seasonal. They evolve over the course of time, so that if you have a bad culture, if you have people in your space that maybe you would prefer to replace them, I'm not sure if you can see this, but you can see how there's kind of a colored graph of the diversity of your community over time. And so in the early days, you maybe have this initial group of people who, are your first community members, and then some of them leave. And then you have new community members coming in, and then some of them leave. And you have new community members coming in, some of them leave. And so over the course of time, many of the people, especially the people that aren't a good fit for your space, are going to leave. And so if there are people, a team of people that really aren't making good use of your space, they're not really involved in the community, there's a good chance they won't be around in a few months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but they won't be around forever. And for the spaces that you do have, for the empty spaces that do open up, you always have a chance with every new member to shape your culture for them in a new way. So every new member that walks in the door is a chance to change that culture. And so what you want to do, if you are a space that is configured where you have to have larger teams, is that you want to try to recruit companies in a way where you are very carefully curating that by meeting with the founder of the company and telling them that truly, for the sake of their business success, what you want to do to help create a lot of value for them, because you always have to put it in terms that they understand and that they appreciate, is that the reason that they should want to be within your community is so that your company and your employees can be a part of this community that will enrich your company's culture, that will educate your members, that will provide feedback on the things that you're working on for your business. You have all these amazing people that can help you with your business, and that your employees being integrated into that community can be such an incredible way of attracting talented employees, retaining talented employees by giving them this vibrant environment that they can be a part of. And the more that we can work together to integrate your business and your process and the success of your business into the success of our community space, the better it will be for everybody. So what you want is to say, okay, what is this business that you do? Whatever that business is, okay, where are you at with this business? Where do you want it to go in 6 months? Where do you want it to go in a year? Where, what is the work that each of these employees is trying to do? And okay, how do we align this community in such a way that the community can rally to help you to make this business very successful? And so regardless of what that is, there's always some way to get the community involved. And maybe it's just that the staff of the community gives a show and tell presentation about what's going on in their company for the whole membership to be able to come and watch and give feedback. And that way, any business should be able to give a presentation about what's going on in their company, give feedback, and now the employees are soliciting feedback from the members. The members are seeing what's going on with the employees, and so you create this really great feedback loop for the company to be integrated. So I would say if you have this problem with, a large team that's not very involved, think about, maybe is it possible to fix that relationship with the current business by doing something like we just discussed, or curating the next company that comes in to say, we're not just going to rent you space because it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for us. What we are going to do is we're going to give you a chance to have something so incredibly valuable that you'll be really excited that you are part of this thing. And you just have to work with us on figuring out how to make that work in the best possible way for you. So that's your answer to that. Cassia, build a better rainbow. I love that. Yeah, I forgot that I put that at the bottom of that thing. I drew that like 5 years ago. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, so I know that we're getting to wrap up. So if you have any other last minute questions, I will take them. I just want to blow through a couple of other slides here just to see what else I have that I can, what else I can give you guys while we're here. I'll just tell you this last one, celebrate. I put this last because it's a good way to end. Again, one of the things that made Newark City so special were the celebrations that we did, and there are always ways to celebrate. One of the things I noticed here in America, and I don't know what it's like in the various countries that all of you are in right now, but I know that this is true here, is that so many of us have lost a sense of community, a sense of neighborhood, a sense of caring about the people who are around us. And so creating a sense that you have a community, that you have people who care about each other, birthday parties, baby showers, whatever it is that comes up, anniversary parties. Every co-working space has a birthday. It's a really great time to celebrate your space, to give a little speech, to have, a photo booth, to do really fun things that help people to celebrate the progress of your space and where it's going to go. So I highly recommend celebrating. One of the other things is just listening, paying attention, really kind of getting to know your members and caring about them. And I'll just say, because we have very little time left, so one of the things that I do is I run an online group. We have a membership-based group, essentially, where you can join up. You can join one of our mastermind groups where we do video group coaching. I have a toolkit where I have just dozens and dozens of resources, templates, all these kinds of things that are involved. And so this is my membership-based thing. I also offer some consulting services, a bunch of other things that I do. So please do feel free to reach out to me over email. My email's in the chat. Again, it's tony@nwc.co. And I just really want to thank all of you for joining, for asking such great questions. And Vito, thank you to you for having me. I'm so excited for everything you guys are doing there. And if anyone's working on a big project, and you have a big budget and you want to pay me to come help you with it, I am available, and I love to travel. So come have me talk at your event, or come have me work with your team. And I'd love to come visit.
Right. No, I appreciate you as well for calling in at what is it, like 1:30 a.m. in the morning now in New York?
It is 1:29 here in New York.
Thank you for staying up late for this. I would love to have you here in Asia. So we should, anyone, if you want to have Tony here, maybe helping with your community, please do. He has only been to Shanghai and Hong Kong, is that before?
Yeah, I've been to Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Shanghai, and I can't wait to come back. So I look forward to. Give me an excuse, and I will come there, and I will throw you an awesome party, and we'll do it.
Cool. We'll look for an excuse as well for you to come. So again, thank you so much. Someone asked before, I already wrote the answer there, but is the webinar recorded? It is recorded, but it will only be accessible for the CAP members. So if you want to know more about CAP, I already leave the website there, so you can just check out. And also, You can also email me at fito@coworkingasiapacific.com. Feel free to email me, and I can also get on a Skype call with you if you want to talk more about CAP, about your co-working space, about anything that's happening in Asia Pacific at the moment. And also, I think that's all. If anyone has a question, you can. Tony also already left an email address there, tony@nwc.co. So you can also just email him directly as well. So thank you so much. We have a lot of people today as well, and then apparently there are a couple of people. Sorry, wait, like 27% from South Asia, from India is assumed, but maybe also from Bangladesh and Nepal maybe, and 64% from Southeast Asia. Yay! Yeah, and then so stay tuned. The next events that we will have in the CAP webinar, we will have Carrie Melnick. This is also related to today's topic as well. It's how to increase community engagement through creative events. So this really excites me as an events manager. So we'll be in about 3 weeks from now. On a Wednesday, and also we will have Faye Alun. She is the president of Coworking Indonesia. This is something that makes me proud as well as an Indonesian, that we have a national association as well here in Indonesia, which have about 100 members there. So she will talk about mobilizing co-working spaces at national level, and we will also have Alicia from Rome. She will talk about co-living. So there are a lot of people there, co-working space owners that are interested as well to open a co-living space. So what's in there? Alicia will have a chat with me about co-living, and we will also have Matthias Schwecking as well from the Working Capital, so talking about storytelling and marketing, which was also one of the most favorite topic during the Co-working Academy that we held last February. So you'll hear about that again. So all these schedules and webinars are available on the website and also on Facebook as well. Thank you again, Tony, for all the tips and tricks that you shared with us today. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you in Asia then.
Thanks, Vito, and thanks to everyone for watching. Keep being awesome. Keep building great communities. Hope to see you soon.
All right. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.